Okay, welcome to the masterclass for the first lesson of the Android Beginners course. My name is Erwin, and I'm the tutor for this class. We'll be talking about the lesson one, which includes the UI and different components. We'll talk about activities, about the UI, and many things that involve, the basics. Um, um, yes, we talk about the things that we need to know about to make a simple Android app. We talk about intents. The classes we did were like for the first application we did, the tip calculator. We learned about the methods and about the things that we've been using, how to call methods from a button, from how to get the input from a text. And we learned about all these things from the lesson. But I want to talk about something else. And this lesson we talk about the ways we do the applications, how to develop them. But I want to give some context to these things, some reasoning to why some things are good practice, why some things are better than the others, and why some things are more important than we give them credit for. So I prepared a little presentation. We'll see right now. Okay. I want to talk about developing for mobile. We know this course is for Android devices. We already know that. We saw the learning path. We know we'll learn about activities, about fragments, about buttons, about all the different things that involve an Android activity, an Android application, how to keep the user engaged, using notifications and all that things. So this course covers development focusing on Android devices. This is because the Android has the biggest market share for all mobile devices. There are 8 main releases. Oreo is the latest one. It just released. It has really cool features. You should check them out. Android is a system developed based on the touch screen, meaning that it's the main way of interacting with the system. And that means we don't have conventional means of getting input, like a keyboard or a mouse. Android also has many libraries and services. Every Android device includes a microphone and a camera. So we can use those to make our apps better or to include more functionality. There are so many libraries. We already covered Butter Knife. That's a third-party library in this lesson. But there are many more. There are libraries to include graphics, to include even third-party services like Facebook. We can include GIFs and many other animations. And Android Studio is the main development IDE, is the official one too. So we can focus on that since it has the most support and it supports most of the devices. So, developing for portable devices, it is an advantage or a disadvantage? Let's say it's an advantage because the user always have the device on them, right? And that means we can keep the user engaged. We can keep the user engaged, and there is a lot of system integration we can do for this purpose. We see that on the lesson 5, where there's notifications and widgets that are an important part to keep the user, you know. But there are problems. A mobile device is obviously much weaker than a PC. We can do many things that we can do in a PC because there are limitations in both power and size. The PCs can have many more power or capabilities. And that also means that the device can run things that the PC can. So we have to tweak them in order to provide the best experience possible. Another thing is that the battery is not unlimited. PCs can always be charging, and that's not a problem, but a device, a phone, will probably be on the go. You will probably use the phone when you are going to work or when you are where you're out and about, going out on your day, and that's a problem we had to consider. That the battery is not limitless. We can have our application draining the battery excessively, and so the other thing is that there are many apps developed for Android. And this is kind of a problem because we have to develop an app that is original or that provides something unique. Otherwise, there is really no advantage for our application. So let's go into these topics a little bit deeper. An application for a phone means that the user will always have their application with them, right? So we have many opportunities to interact with them. And that means that in the meanwhile, the user is interacting with their app, they probably don't have much time to cover it, right? That's why many applications developed for the phone have simplistic UI. They have really, the tendency is to move towards images on menus and on buttons. It means that the user has to know its way around the app without telling them. That's one of the reasons that the controls and the UI have to be simple and effective, because there's really not much time. Most users will use our app, will probably just check it in like 5-minute lapses, and that's a thing we have to consider. And that's the reason most mobile games are short. They cater to these small bursts of times, so a user can use it on his or her free time. We don't have time to use the app on like 30-minute segments. So we have to be quick. We have to streamline most of the processes. There is no much time for menus and text pop-ups, right? That's the first thing we have to consider. The user has limited time, so we have to make our apps simple and streamlined. The next thing, system integration. There are 3 main ways to integrate our system. Those are notifications, alarms, and widgets. We'll learn about these 3 in future lessons, but as a sneak peek, notifications are messages that our app sends to remind the user of an event or to to tell them there is something new that may be of interest. Alarms can be set for a specific time, so the user will be able to interact with your app. Alarms and notifications are used frequently together, but alarms can be used on their own. They can launch an activity of our application at a certain time. That's how the alarms of the system application does this. They trigger the alarm and they start the application on the time. And widgets are on the home screen. We see them as lists, as buttons. They are mini applications to interact with the user. These three things allow the user to be informed about our application. We also keep them engaged. Sending them small messages at the right time can keep the user engaged and can help our user base grow. But there's a problem. What frequency should we use? Or how many messages should we send? The thing is, the frequency can be too high. Imagine sending a message for every 15 minutes. The user will get really annoyed and will probably uninstall our app. But sending them once a week is another thing that won't be effective. The user would probably forget about the app. The thing is that we can also send many notifications at once, but sending them will clutter the notification drawer, and that's another not effective way to engage the user. The user has to know about our application, but they don't have to get annoyed by them, or they will install them. The one thing that we can do about this is always let the user opt in or out of the notifications. That means they can select if they want to receive them or not. We can also allow them to get the time down. They can select when they want. Maybe they want to receive updates for every day or every 2 days. Maybe in the case of a game where you have an energy meter, the user may want to be informed when the meter is restored so they can continue playing. We have to take care of these things because an effective app should be engaging for the user but not annoying. That is a problem because if many users uninstall them, will get bad reviews. We won't be able to grow the user base. The next thing, the battery life. This is probably one of the most important things to consider when developing an Android app. That is, most users charge their phones once a day when they go to sleep, and they continue their day with the same charge as it was in the morning. We can't have our applications drain too much battery, because then the user will know that our application is at fault and it will uninstall them. We have to consider our app is not the only one. Phones probably have much more important tasks like communication or using the phone, conferences. It has to be charged to do any of this. A dead phone is no good. And the other thing is, we can have our application be too slow or crash too much. If that happens, there will be no reason to keep using them. So we have to let it. So what happens when our application is loading things? It will probably be slow and unresponsive. We learned this about how to handle this in lesson 3. We learned about background threads and how to manage data in the background. But the problem is that those messages are still leaving the screen blank. We have to keep the user informed of when we're fetching data, so they won't think the application is stopped, right? By displaying messages, dialogues, or even just a simple progress bar, we can make sure the user doesn't quit the application because he thinks he's stuck. But the other thing is, can an app crash be avoided? I mean, we can test for everything we think about, but crashes that we test are made in a sandbox, meaning that our application is the main focus of the testing. We don't know how our application will react in an actual environment, in a different phone with many different applications. Maybe it can access the resource. So the application will probably crash. That's a thing that will probably happen on any application, unless it's incredibly simple like the tip calculator. The thing is that just because it will happen doesn't mean we can't lower the chances. Testing and debugging is really important for an activity development. Okay, next thing is there are actually a lot, and I mean a lot of applications. As of March 2017, there were 3 million apps on the Play Store. There is such a large market of applications that we may think there is no point. There is a lot of competition, and many apps already do what we think we want to do. So there is the other thing. When developing an app, more importantly, when publishing an app, we have to consider why is our app unique? Maybe the UI is more intuitive or is incredibly responsive. We have an unique function, or maybe even our teams or support team is right there helping the users or engaging with the users. We roll out many support logs, or maybe we can even have a dedicated section. I don't know. But there is something that has to make our app unique. Otherwise, it will probably get drowned in the huge marketplace. This is why testing is important. A faulty app is easy to replace, right? If our app keeps crashing, the user will probably think, this app is no good, and we'll just uninstall it and install a new one. So we have to keep that in mind. Keep the user happy. That's important because a happy customer is a recurring customer. That's why we have to be quick and we have to keep all the bugs reported, the crashes. They are very important because if we can solve them, maybe the users will see value in our product. So what's the better thing? A good application or a good support? There is really no right answer. A good application will keep being good, but as new versions of the Android roll out, as other applications get installed, our application will probably fail. And the thing is that without a good support team, we probably won't be able to keep the user base or even get more users. So when publishing an app, we have to think about the customer. All these things I have talked about highlight the importance of the development of an app. We have to think user first when developing. We don't have to think as developers or programmers. We have to think as the end user. What will the user think about our app? We have to think that it will be responsive, it will be easy to use, it will have good support. Because that's what users care about. They don't care about the underlying work of the application. And that's the thing that this course will try to cover. How to develop good apps that have a good feeling. That they work quick and they are great for a user. Okay, now I want to talk about the exercises. The exercises for the lesson are really simple. I mean, it's the tip calculator app that just has a couple of buttons and a text that changes on depending on the text that is displayed. And the exercise for the lesson is teaching about the styles and the colors, the resources that you have to use in a project. These things are really simple, and I don't think that someone might have much problem. You can still always pop into the discussion forum, and we can talk about it there. But I want to show you guys some of the things that can make your development much easier. First, learn about Android Studio. There's this really cool feature about Android Studio. It has an intelligent editor, IntelliJ. It's really good for development. And there is a couple shortcuts that I really like when developing. The first one is Alt plus Enter key in Windows, right? Um, For example, in the application, no, in the exercise of lesson one, where we have to apply styles to the views, we have to use the string resource to keep all our strings in order, so we can make a localization process easier, right? The thing is, going back and forth writing the strings is not always very time effective, right? So when you can actually hard code a string on the edit text, and then with the alt enter combination, you can extract the string resource, and it will automatically appear on the string files. This is really easy and really convenient actually. So you don't have to go back and forth from the two files. You can do it all from this file. And another implementation is on a activity. I have here this example. It's implementing a method for the recycler view. With the alt enter keys, you can actually implement the methods. And this is really important. No, not important, but really useful, because then we have the right signatures and the right parameters. It basically builds them for us, so we don't have to be coding every single method. So another one of the functions is the view sample code. When you are reading some code of an application, you might stumble upon some code, some functions that you might not know. You can always right-click on a function and select Find Sample Code. This is really useful when you are reading code, when you're trying to follow a tutorial and you find code that you don't understand, because then we'll find something like this. On the bottom side, on the bottom side of Android Studio, it will appear this small window at the top that it will show you which package it belongs, and it will show you if it's actually a supported file function, and you can open that in the browser, and it will automatically redirect you to the page of the function or the class that you need. And finally, the last thing I think is really useful in Android Studio is the generate menu. We already used this for Butter Knife, but Butter Knife is a plugin, uses a plugin. The generate menu has many other functions. You access it by the alt insert combination or right click generate. For example, in the activity for this lesson, we used um, a contact list. And we had to create a contact object. With this object, we had to create a public getter and setter, so it can have its, since you have to access its parameters. You can, this is easy because there are like 3 fields on this exercise, but a complex object, you have like, imagine 10, and you have to write the same code for each one. Get, return, set, this equals, right? You can auto-generate them. And this is really useful. You can save much time by this. You can also insert the superclass methods for an activity. If you create an activity that is gonna, for example, it's an app compat activity, we can generate the on create, on start, on stop. We can generate them automatically by this, so we don't have to write the code. And you might think it's really redundant, but imagine a project with 10 activities, you will be copy pasting the same code. So it's really useful. And the only recommendation I can give is learn about Android Studio. It has many more cool features that will help on your development. They are really convenient. These are just a few. But we can learn so much about this, and Android Studio already makes it so easy to develop. You have a really much an easier time if you learn about these functions. Okay, I think that covers what I wanted to talk about on lesson 1. We'll have a little bit of question sections where you can ask everything you want to ask. Something about this lesson, go ahead. There's the little chat on the side where you can send your messages. Okay, then I guess there are no questions for the lesson. So we're gonna wrap up this conference right here. Think about this. When developing an app, think client first. You have to make the client is the one that is going to be using your app. You have to consider the client needs over the developer needs. Well, to a certain extent, right? But always think about making a good UI, a simple one and a streamlined UI, so the user can actually use your application without much outside help. And the other thing is think about battery. We're developing for mobile, we have to consider these resources as limited. So, okay then, thanks for the assistance. Thanks for watching. We'll be coming back the next week with the Lesson 2 conference. You can always write your question in the forums. If you have any suggestions or any questions about this, you can write to us in the forums and we'll be checking them out. Thanks.